It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast as we connect you, as always, to a front view seat to real estate information right across Australia 7 days a week, as we take that closer look at property and from every postcode that we can muster. And it is a Thursday morning, May the 29th. Yesterday, I've got to tell you, I was doing some supermarket shopping, something that I absolutely hate with a passion. I'm always a click and collect person. So here I am yesterday walking around aimlessly trying to find some veggies. I pick up a piece of pumpkin that is 1/4 of a whole pumpkin with a sale price of $3.20. Put it into my little basket, and I'm walking out to the checkout, and I notice the whole pumpkin on special for $4. On top of that, the click and collect, I did order some salmon. I put $30 in my order. I get home and I see that they have sneakily charged me $39 for the salmon. You know, we're being ripped off left and right. Jerry Seinfeld has got an expression called survival is the new success. And that is so true, isn't it? With everything being so expensive, survival mode, we're pretty good at that. Now, good morning if you are in Geelong. Well done. Geelong has officially become Australia's top regional hotspot, overtaking Queensland's Sunshine Coast, and that is not easy, as the number one destination for internal migration. Now, according to the Regional Movers Index, 9.3% of people relocating from capital cities are choosing Geelong, rising to nearly 11%, where nearby areas like the Surf Coast and Queen's Cliff are included. Now, that is a staggering 96% growth in just 1 year. So, take a bow, Geelong. Right, let's head off to the US and to California to speak to the man there, Kevin De Silva. You might remember him when we caught up talking about those horrific LA fires that blazed and burned out of control. He reported on that situation. He is back for part 2 post-fires. Kevin, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. Great to have you on.
Oh, thank you, Craig, for having me.
You know, Kevin, I wouldn't be too surprised, given the problems, and we'll talk about these problems post-fire there in Los Angeles. Wouldn't be too surprised if a few people have decided to move to Australia, not just because of the fires, but the administration. Many people, some of these famous celebrities have moved out of the country, and Australia is one of the hot places to move to.
It absolutely is, especially for Californians. I understand the weather is very similar.
Yeah, you raise a very good point. All right, let's have a look at what is making the news right now in May, post-fires. But first, how has your local market been going there in 2025 if you subtract out the cause effect of the fires?
Well, Craig, thanks for having me on again. And yeah, last time we spoke was in February. The fires have had a huge impact on the real estate market here in the coastal Los Angeles area. The Palisades fire in particular displaced one of the wealthiest populations in Los Angeles, and they proceeded to move down the coast. I mean, some of the areas saw 30% year over year price appreciation as a result of the homes just getting gobbled up.
And, you know, in terms of people looking for those rentals, we know that was a real big problem. The landlords, they were putting a premium on those properties. You would have friends that were caught up in the LA fires trying to get, you know, somewhere to live. It has caused a bit of a problem, you know, for people having to move out of the state into other areas because they just could not find a place to live in.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, the rental market here in the coastal Los Angeles area has moved to almost nothing. There's practically no home available for rent. For the people who did, price gouge, many of them were reported to the authorities, and the authorities have been following up on all of the leads revolving around that and have been bringing people to justice. But that has in turn brought a lot of homes off the rental market as well.
Now, if somebody came in and had a look at the devastation back in February, which is when we last spoke, what are some of the differences, if anything? And that can include the cleanup, of course, but is there anything visually noticeable?
Oh, absolutely, Craig. In the fire zone, you're still not allowed to drive up unless you're a resident or a first responder. It's limited access to the area. There are sales taking place, but it's very limited as well. There are 94 homes on market in the Palisades right now. Some of them are just land. Some of them are homes that didn't burn down that have already been cleaned up. To put that in perspective, there are 9 pending sales and only 12 have sold since the fires, 6 of them in the last 30 days.
So what about devaluation? So somebody's just put their hands up in the air and they've said, no, we do not want to rebuild here. We want to get out. We don't want this to happen to us again, potentially. What about the value of these properties? The fact that they're still sitting there might be a bit of a clue.
Oh, yeah. There's 16 months of inventory, so buyers have their choices. And one of the biggest problems right now is that you can't finance these properties. A lot of the properties still don't have utilities. There's still ongoing cleanup of the catastrophe that took place in January. So, without the ability to finance it, essentially these properties are sold for cash.
What about the politics around here? Because there's been this real struggle between California and the current administration. Is it fair to say that is still sort of an undercurrent vibe for those that are living in California and Los Angeles around this issue? Has there been anything that you look to and go, oh, that's great? There's lots of different things being talked about for supporting the fires.
The price gouging rule itself was great, keeping rents in line with where they had been renting before for a lot of these properties. But as far as some of the exceptions that they've made have been questionable. One in particular is in particular zip codes, they exempted 4-bedroom houses from the price gouging rules. And to me, that's a little bit of discrimination. So in my opinion, not enough has been done to help the fire victims if we're starting to exclude certain populations. As far as the sales, unfortunately, there are people who don't want to rebuild. Some are leaving the state of California altogether. Like this was what was keeping them here. And insurance, many of them have already received large insurance payouts for the home itself.
Yeah, there's been all sorts of stories that have come out from the LA fires. This one was a real sort of tear-jerker. Imagine buying your first home, a huge achievement, and then only 6 months later to have your home burnt down. That is what happened to a single mum in the Eaton fires. Now it's a case of rebuilding and trying to put her life back together again, but she just doesn't have the resources to be able to do that. Many stories probably like that you have heard or heard about. Yeah, it's just so demoralising because we know how long it takes to save up for a property. Only in that case, a single mum, 6 months later, you lose the lot.
Oh, yeah. That happened to my friend in the Palisades. He bought his house last year. He, his wife, and their 2 kids had to evacuate. House burned down. He has it on video, too, from the ring.
And what is he doing? What is the next step that he's likely to make with his family?
He got really lucky. His brother-in-law, his wife's brother, was moving back to Los Angeles, had already secured a rental, and instead of moving back, actually just let them take over the rental. So they're currently renting. As with most of the affected homes that have mortgages, they have been granted forbearance. So for at least a year, they don't have to make their mortgage payments. And the county of Los Angeles has actually exempted them from making their property tax payments as well, many of them. They're still sorting that out, really. They're wondering, do we rebuild this? Do we move back? Or do we move down the hill? And, do we move down the coast, just like so many have done already?
Where's a go-to area that seems to be pretty popular, Kevin, where people are moving to, staying within California?
The 2 top places for the people who are staying in California, and particularly Los Angeles, are Venice and Manhattan Beach. for opposite reasons. Venice is just really close to where people from the Palisades already have their lives. And a lot of the Palisades families, their kids go to private schools. And the private schools were not affected by the fires. Venice was a huge landing spot. The property values are up 24% year over year in Venice. Manhattan Beach, though, does have a great school district. So for the families who needed schools and didn't want to go to private school, have flooded to Manhattan Beach. And Manhattan Beach itself has seen a 30% year over year appreciation.
Wow. Now, you wanted to also talk about the new builds that is taking place at the moment. So perhaps just let our audience know about that.
Here in Los Angeles, the metro lines are becoming a huge thing. Los Angeles used to be one of the pioneers of public transportation and fell victim to the automotive age and built a bunch of freeways, which is great for the time. But now they're getting back into the public transportation space, particularly with metro lines. So one of the bills that they're floating right now would allow essentially anywhere around a metro station for builders to build 15-story apartment buildings. And it doesn't matter what the zoning is currently, it would overrule that zoning.
Wow, that sounds like something that's going to be transformative, is it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, we have a line that is now about to connect the airport to Los Angeles, just in time for the World Cup. We have another one that's going to connect Brentwood to downtown Los Angeles in time for the Olympics, which are coming in 2028. Developers will be able to start building these projects in anticipation for this.
Now, if you're an investor, one of the key things when it comes to infrastructure is to exactly that, follow the infrastructure. When it comes to lines, metrification, you follow that, and every time you only have to go back in history and look at the way in which that value has skyrocketed, always makes pretty good sense to follow.
Absolutely. I've never heard that term, Craig, but I love it. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, metrification. There you go. And tariffs. You want to mention what is happening around that?
We have actually seen the real estate market peak. Typically, the real estate market here in Los Angeles will peak May, June, or July. And if you line up every year since 2008, there have been two exceptions to that. This year, it has already peaked in April. One of the main reasons are tariffs. Now, it's not just the tariffs increasing the cost of goods, because the consumer hasn't felt that yet. It's the turmoil in the stock market, the uncertainty that brings, and a lot of people have wealth in the stock market. And when their wealth is doing well, they buy houses. And when their wealth isn't doing great, they pull back from buying these homes. This is a sign that if we're peaking early in our spring market, we can expect to start to accelerate our fall through the seasonal downturn, which comes August, September, October, November. Typically, it really pulls hard in September. But last time this president was in office and he had his last trade spat was 2018. The real estate market in Los Angeles turned in August, and it turned August 1st, when usually it turns September 1st.
Well, remember, of course, it's going to be a bit of a lean Christmas. The dolls, they're going to be very hard to buy. But, $400 million 747 luxury aircraft, that's completely in a different stratosphere.
With $1 billion of upgrades to get it to be Air Force One.
Exactly. All right, we'll leave it there, Kevin. Great to get that update from Los Angeles and all things that are affecting the post of fires. And thanks for coming back onto the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
It's the Real Estate Podcast, talking properties from 6 a.m. every day, from every corner of the Australian real estate market. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.